Welcome back viewers, ladies, gentlemen, non-binaries and anyone with ears or other sound detection organs. Hope you enjoy. We are continuing with Going Native, written by Uncle Sealing. Going Native, Chapter 34. Merin crawled her way clear of the pile of sleeping bodies that she considered her family and grabbed at her omnipod. It continued to beep at her, and before answering the call she took a moment to check the time. Nearly 3 in the morning. The voice was completely unaccented and immediately familiar. You have at least 4 vehicles coming full of people who mean to get to Sammy. Capture or kill. They will be arriving in 20 minutes, maybe less. You will protect my friends, yes. Shit. Shit 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 shit. I will. The call disconnected with a click. Everybody up. We have incoming. Merin yelled. To their credit, nobody tried to roll over or played it off as a joke. Ieng, Samuel, and Sammy all got up immediately. She was going to need help, but what could she do? Her co right now was Celia, and no way was she going to contact that piece of shit. She needed someone who could cut through red tape and get things done. Merin tossed her omnipod to Ieng and joined the Sams in pulling on combat armor. Look in the contacts for Keller. Call her and tell her we have people incoming to kidnap or kill Sammy. ETA 20 minutes or less. The 3 stared at her. Do it. Merin took a moment to consider their assets. 1 soldier who spent her days at a desk. 2 unusually small humans in body armor. 1 unprotected husband she had to keep safe. A couple of human pistols, a heavy assault weapon she had never fired, and whatever they had taken from Stace. Keller said she would see what she could do. Ieng looked terrified, but went over to the table in the bedroom where they had been keeping all the weapons. He started strapping on the harness that Stace had made for him, holding that huge pistol across his chest. Can you even shoot that thing? Ieng gave a soft smile. I shot it twice to see how it worked. It isn't fun, but I know how to do it. Samuel grabbed Stace's rifle and started shoving cartridges in it. I wish I knew what this optic was set to. At this point I'd be better off pulling it and using the iron sights. Ieng dove for their little pile of electronics next to the bed and came back with a white digital book reader. He flipped through the settings deftly and pulled up a page, holding it out for Samuel. Merin got enough of a glance at it to see that Ieng had drawn a series of pictures and covered it with notes. When Stace taught us about his guns, I took notes. These settings are for 100 yards and no wind. The quiet clicking of Samuel adjusting the scope did nothing to hide the chime of Merin's omnipod. She checked it and saw a message from Keller.
Commando team dropping from orbit. ETA 22 minutes.
Well shit. What was she going to do? We need help. I'm not trained for this. Ieng perked up. I know who can help us. Ella's fancy new omnipod started chirping, waking her up with a soldier's readiness. It was Ieng's custom tone, and judging by the time, right in the middle of his beauty sleep, it was probably important. What is it? Angry humans are coming to get Sammy. What do we do? Shit, wait, what? Ella's mind raced. What are our assets? Merin's voice came in. Ieng paired his omnipod with the suit comms, so we can all hear you. Both Sams and I have combat armor. I have my XL-12 and the humans have semi-automatic pistols. Ieng has that crazy revolver and Samuel has Stace's rifle. ETA for humans is 17 minutes or less, ETA for commando team is 19 minutes. Suddenly Ella's Omni made a new chirp noise. She glanced at the screen.
Painterly Sammy wants you to install a new app, POPSC CamView 0.2a.
She hit the button and, after a moment, a map appeared of the Painter Observatory, Planetarium, and Science Center. The map was peppered with little triangles. Tapping a triangle opened a little box, showing a live feed from the corresponding security camera. This was fantastic. Sammy, can you send that same app to Stace's phone? Can it handle 2 feeds at once? Sammy's voice chimed in pleasantly. Sam wrote it when we got the new security set up, so it's ridiculous and can handle like 500 simultaneous connections. After a moment of fiddling with Stace's phone, Ella could watch 2 cameras at the same time. Thankfully, Stace was getting prepped for his surgery, so she had the whole room to herself. She noticed that Sammy seemed to be running from doorway to doorway in the lower levels, attaching something to the door frames at ankle level with a screw gun. Sammy, you're the asset they are after, so we need to move you to a secure location. I'm in armor, I can help. No. You're going to go somewhere safe. Samuel, what's the most secure area? Basement doesn't have windows, but no exits either. Most secure is going to be the base of the main scope. It's a concrete bowl 2 meters thick to cut down on vibrations. No windows, single entrance in from the main building and a fire exit. Both can be blocked easily. It's Tier 1 on your map. Okay, we can work with this. Sammy, what are you doing? Booby traps. Okay, I want you in Tier 1 by -7 minutes. Ieng, go to Tier 1 now and start tipping tables and stacking equipment to make cover in case we have to fall back there. Samuel, get up to the roof and start looking for any spotters or snipers. Stay low and come back inside at the first sign of trouble. Checking the maps, Ella saw a few views of the parking lot. Marion, how deep are those holes in the parking lot? Half a meter. Assholes keep parking shuttles there. Good. I want you at ground level with a view out the front. Looks like the only real way to the front of the building is through the parking lot, correct? Yeah, we're on the top of a plateau and surrounded by low hills to cut down on light pollution. If you're not on foot, the only easy way in or out is up the driveway and into the lot. Samuel sounded slightly out of breath. Got it. Marion, I want you to use that cannon of yours and aim low. Try to disable the first vehicles as they come through, bottleneck them. We don't have to win, we just have to delay. If they get through, try to guide them so they hit those holes. Give them The sharp of a rifle interrupted her commands. It had taken nearly an hour of hiking for Darrell Hereford to make it up to the museum where the traitor was hiding out. He had left early and done his level best to beat the rest of the strike force. He was unaccustomed to the thin air and, to be honest, not in the best shape, but he had made it with time to spare. The combination of the elevation and the hills surrounding the building pissed him off. He was an expert marksman, born and bred to be the best, and he couldn't get line of sight to the building without being less than 300 yards from it. Darrell could hit the neck of a bowling pin at 1,000 yards. Having to shoot from this distance was degrading. Still, the resistance had called for him and he had answered. He would do his part, kill some eggplants, and prove himself. Darrell loved his rifle. He had taken 2 regional gold medals and a national silver medal with this particular gun before the perps had come. It fired a .338 Lapwow Magnum with custom hand loads. He used VLD bullets specially balanced for long distance and lubricated with molybdenum disulfide, seated not to standard dimensions but specially measured to match the chamber of this exact rifle. He had bedded the action into the stock himself, done all the trigger work himself, and knew in his heart that he had built the perfect killing tool. The ground was frozen and cold at the top of the hill, but Darrell's jacket and gloves were both heated. Shooting was a real man's sport, and sometimes that meant being cold. You adapted? He snuggled down against the stock, adjusted his optic, and took a look. The whole front entrance of building was glass, and it only took moments for Darrell to find some targets. Two figures in Shilvati combat armor. One clearly one of those purple bitches, the other one smaller and running about. Either a male or one of those traitorous humans that had joined their military. The third figure. Daryl had never seen a Shilvati male, at least not in person. Through the sights of his rifle, he could see the shapely, toned ass, smooth features. It made him angry. Papa Hereford didn't raise any faggots, and seeing that little purple shit offended Daryl's sensibilities. The mighty .338 LM was iffy on Shilvati combat armor. Even at this short range, his best hope of penetration was to aim for a joint or a seam, not too difficult a proposition, since he could shoot the head off a matchstick at this distance. However, these shill kept moving. It wasn't like this at competitions. The solution was simple. He would gut shoot that faggy purple male, and when the big one went to cry over her dying little whore, he would have plenty of time to take her out. He might even get the other one in armor when they came to see what was going on. Daryl Hereford, champion competitive long-range shooter and soon-to-be perp-killing beta's hero to the human race, centered the crosshairs of his rifle right over eyeing Elbruck's navel. He exhaled, waited for that mythical moment between heartbeats that he was told every sniper felt but he never quite figured out, let his finger gently begin to caress the trigger. And died. "Sam, was that you?" Samuel finished retching and snapped his helmet back on, hoping the filters of the helmet would get rid of the acrid stink. "Yeah, that was me. There was a sniper outside. Was. I got him." The lever on the rifle ran smoothly, loading a new round into the chamber. Sam looked down at the empty brass case as it bounced and rolled on the flat rooftop next to where he was crouched. It had been so easy. He knew every hill, every tree, every rock in a 10-kilometer radius around the facility. He had helped design the place, had done much of the surveying himself. Almost every weekend when the weather was nice, Sam was hiking somewhere in the beautiful wilderness that surrounded them. The man on the hill had picked one of Samuel's favorite spots. He would go out there and sit with his lunch, watching buses of visitors wind up the road towards his home. No cover, no concealment, just a perfect view. It had been years since Samuel had fired a rifle, and never at something living. He had been encouraged to take some firearm safety and familiarization classes by previous employers, but the technical aspects had interested him far more than the actual act of shooting. He knew how the scope worked, and if you asked Sam the distance between any two places in the surrounding 20 kilometers, he could probably give you a measurement accurate within 5 meters. He knew it was 218 meters between his favorite hill and the building. That was about 238 yards. He saw the man through his binoculars, set his scope on the rifle, lined up the crosshairs, and he felt his stomach heave again. Samuel was going to have nightmares about what had happened to that man. His head had just come apart. Sam, are you okay?" It was for Sammy. He had to protect Sammy. "Yeah, I'm okay. I'm on the roof. I don't see anybody else out there with a view of the building." Ella's voice was calm and professional. "Stay low and keep your eyes open. The second they start firing at you, I want you back in and moving towards T1. Understood?" The first vehicle to complete the curve into the parking lot was a small truck that had been modified for the assault. The front had been covered with sandbags, only a tiny slit left open for the driver to see. It came around the bend and made a line straight for the front doors, gaining speed. Marin saw it, but wasn't sure exactly where to shoot. The whole thing was armored. "Left front tire." The voice was Samuel's, not Ella's, but Marin didn't hesitate. The beam of high-energy photons ripped through the tire and the vehicle pulled in the same direction. For just a moment, the unarmored side window and the driver were exposed. The crack of a rifle sounded above her and truck pulled hard to one side, the uneven weight causing it to tip over. Samuel, I need you back on the first floor, door E2. We have 3 contacts making their way around the building on foot. Marion, the truck's fuel tank is just ahead of the rear wheels. Set to wide aperture, 1 second burn should do it. Marion slid the adjustment wheel on her weapon and felt the inside hum and shift. It was an interesting feature on the Bancroft XL12, why it had such an enthusiastic following. It had a series of electromagnetic lenses on the inside that adjusted the beam from a straight line into more of an hourglass shape. You could focus the middle of that hourglass to a set distance to increase the penetration at that range, or you could defocus it to create an area of intense heat with far less penetration. The settings were finicky and there was a delay whenever you made an adjustment, but if it was used effectively it could be devastating. A second of meter wide aperture on the underside of the upturned truck and it didn't matter if her aim was off a little. The whole thing was burning. The sound of gunfire erupted somewhere behind her, but Marion stayed focused on the front. She disabled the aperture adjustment and went back to a standard beam. The next vehicle was coming up and the moment it came around the bend she punched a few holes right through the engine block. It rolled to a stop right next to the flaming truck and... jackpot! The explosion rocked the second truck, buying another few seconds. She set the aperture back to wide and started hosing the second truck with heat, curling its paint and setting it alight. Through the fiery mess she could see another vehicle coming around, but where could it go? Its path was blocked by a couple tons of flaming, twisted wreckage. This is ACS-12, dropping on your position. Please advise the condition and location of your assets. A new, gruff voice on the comms. We have 4 assets in sight, all inside the building. No living hostiles indoors. If they are outside, they are all yours. Marion could hear Ella's bloodthirsty grin. Understood. In an instant, the area surrounding the facility was awash in the glare of Shilvati weapons fire from the approaching gunship. It was over in moments. A loud report echoed through the building, followed by some unique and colourful swearing over the comms. I told you that I could show you where the booby traps are. And I told you, Dr. Painter, that I wasn't going to let you anywhere near something with the word trap in its name. Sammy was sitting on top of a workbench, kicking their legs nervously. Ieng, Marion, and Samuel had all been corralled and the 4 were now stuck waiting while the commando team cleared the building room by room. So far they had managed to set off 2 of Sammy's traps, which meant 2 commandos were walking around with a noticeable limp. Even in marine combat armor, taking a 12-gauge blast of #4 shot to the knees or ankles was unpleasant. Jesus, Sam, how many of those things did you set up? Samuel was sitting in a chair, wrapped in a blue fuzzy blanket. He didn't look quite right. Sammy desperately wanted to go to him, to do something, but they had already tried that. Having a high-speed Shilvati commando pick you up and set you back down like a child was infuriating, but Commander Dalek was insistent that they could not move from their seat until the building was cleared. Sammy was the important asset, and that meant they couldn't do anything. Even comfort their husband. Sammy looked at the team's commander, standing at the ready to kill anything that came nearby. Short for a Shilvati female, her helmet was open and she was rocking a bright pink punk rock fringe. The woman seemed to exude an aura of professional death. Make a willpower save against fear effects. What do you say, Commander? Want the answer or do you want it to be a surprise? Another bang reverberated, followed by more swearing. I could just mark them on a map. Commander Dalek Lachar sighed. How long did you have to set those things? 9 minutes. All right. Give me the number. 17. Dalek tilted her head at Sammy, then got on the comm. Team, be advised that you have 90 seconds to find and clear the remaining 6 traps. For each trap that you do not find and disarm successfully in that time, you will be running 10 laps around this facility. Naked? It's -12 centigrade out there. Samuel's voice had gotten flatter, duller. Sammy glanced over at their husband, wanting to help. Ian was already there, rubbing Samuel's shoulders, talking to him softly, but Sammy knew that they should be there too. The commander seemed to notice the glance, and quietly remarked into her comm. Medic to asset location. We need treatment for shock. I'll be okay. Seriously? Are all human men this dense? Ian stomped his foot. You are getting medical treatment. You will do exactly what the medic tells you, or I will personally put my boot in your ass. Understood? Yes, Dad. That got a laugh out of everyone and a faint smile out of Samuel. When another bang sounded above them, even Samuel had to start laughing along. End of chapter. If you enjoyed, like, subscribe, click the bell so you don't miss any episode and do all the other YouTube stuff. Visit and support the author, and I'll see you next time. If you didn't enjoy, comment on what I can do better. And as usual, have a wonderful day.